Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and it's another big story around Manchester United. What I will say is, Manchester United fans have got the patience of saints. This has been going on for 10 years. This club has been terminally failing. This wouldn't happen at other clubs, especially outside of England. So for all the self-reflection about how we talk about our players and our football club and the snowflake society of, oh, can you say this, can you say that? I think this fan base is ridiculously patient because we've been putting up with this shit for 13 years and we're still shit. Other fan bases just wouldn't put up with it. But let's hit this story this morning. The tweet's on the screen. Marcus Rashford has called out fan abuse, fan criticism. Some people aren't very happy about this. We'll delve into it, of course. Lots of different areas to wander into this. And I want to get your comments. You are the fans. You are the people that have your say. What are your thoughts on this? I've got a few things. First of all, I might shock you here. I've got a lot to say on it, but I actually agree with Rashford on the abuse. Oh my God, what's happened to him? Is this the real Goldbridge or is it AI that's been told to be pro-Rashford? It's the real one. Look, it does hurt. I'm good at wrestling, actually. That one did hurt. But my point is, I do actually agree with him to a certain point. Because in life, not everything is red and green. It's everything in between. And sometimes abuse is happening to Marcus Rashford. The problem here is criticism is not abuse. Saying you want to drop him, saying you want to sell him, saying his body language has been crap all season, saying he's not good enough to wear a Man United shirt, saying he's taking the piss in a Man United shirt, that's not abuse. But what some modern people do, or idiots as I call them, is they think that's abuse. And it's not abuse to call somebody out for their performances, say they look like they can't be arsed, say that they're overpaid, say that they want to be dropped, say that you'd sell them. That's not abuse. And if Rashford thinks that's abuse, he's a fool. That is not abuse. What is abuse is saying, fuck off Rashford, or Rashford's faking injury, or, you know, calling him Trashford and stuff like that. There's different levels of abuse there, but that is unfounded, unfair, and not right. Now, I think if you're in a football ground and Rashford misses a chance and you go, oh, fuck off Rashford, that's not abuse. That's just instant, passion. But when you go and do a video with the title saying fuck off Rashford, which you won't find on this channel, that is overstepping the mark, in my opinion. When you do a fan cam and you say, Rashford's feigning injury, you can tell he's feigning injury, that's dangerous. That's bordering on abuse because it's not true. You've got no fact to do it. You're just projecting an opinion in front of thousands. And we all saw that clip yesterday. We all saw that clip. So look, maybe we run an experiment and we all start singing Rashford's name and he might start playing well. But is that the way to go here? Like, this is Manchester United. There are standards we need to achieve. And the modern world is quite vile. You do get abuse. I mean, look, let's read the tweet, actually. It is a news show. Let's read the wordings, right? Okay, so this started from a Twitter account, which, again, we don't know who it is. Some people are saying it's Marcus Rashford propaganda, a bot. It could be. It could be a genuine person because we live in a world now with AI and all this bullshit that unless somebody is like me, visually in front of you with my @MarkGoldbridge Twitter account, you don't know whether it's real. So this is @United Paradigm or something like that. That could be owned by Rashford. That could be owned by the Glazers. That could be owned by an Arsenal fan. People need to start switching on to these accounts on Twitter that you all get on with and like and respect. You don't know who's behind it. It could be a 9-year-old Arsenal fan. It could be a 99-year-old Man United fan living in bloody Greenland. You don't know who it is. But you all take their words as gospel. Wake the fuck up. Touch grass. Some things on social media aren't real. And if you can't trace it to be real, don't fucking... if you get an email today in your inbox saying, send me all your money, my grand's dying, send me all your money, are you going to send it? But no, you won't. But you'll listen to a Twitter account that you don't know anything about. So this Twitter account says, and Rashford shouldn't be interacting with it, really. The way Marcus Rashford is being treated is absolutely disgusting. It's cruel. It's abuse. From an account we don't know who's behind. Could be Rashford's account, could be Man United's account, could be an Arsenal fan's account. We don't know. So the way Marcus Rashford is being treated is absolutely disgusting. It's cruel, it's abuse. Rashford then quote tweets it. I appreciate your support. It is abuse and has been for months. Enough is enough. Why is he searching out some random Twitter account at midnight and quote tweeting it? I mean, it's just who is advising Rashford? I mean, that account could be a piss taker, and the minute you quote tweet it, they could reply, make you look a right mug. It might be entrapment. So it's just absolutely incredible to me that a footballer at Manchester United or any other club is quote tweeting an account that you don't even know who's behind it. And you know, if it's one of the journalists that you like Henry Winter, you know who Henry Winter is. He's on your side, absolutely safe. But this stinks to me of you're searching around Twitter for somebody who's got your back, or it's an account you own or something like that. I don't know. I don't think he does own it. But what I'm saying is, I'm just talking about the general trust in these Twitter accounts that nobody knows who's behind them. I find it incredible that people, you know, interact with these accounts and hold them up as mates and stuff like that when they don't know who's behind them. So he says, look, I appreciate your support. It's abuse and it has been for months. Enough is enough. And the original account says the way Marcus Rashford is being treated is absolutely disgusting. It's cruel. It's abuse. Well, I'd love to know what the context of that is, because I don't see a lot of cruel abuse, not in our chat. And if it gets seen, it gets deleted. It gets dealt with. I see a lot of people saying sell Marcus Rashford. I see a lot of people saying I've had enough of him, get him out of my club. I see a lot of people saying drop him. I see a lot of people saying, I don't know why he's starting for this club. I see a lot of people saying, why is he jogging again? I see a lot of people saying he's our best paid player and he's doing nothing. I see a lot of that. That's not abuse. And if we start calling that abuse, in 10 years' time, this lovely world we live in isn't going to be worth living in, because it'll be a dictatorship where you can't say, you know, fair criticism or critique. And in football, that would destroy it. And the Premier League and the PGMOL are already doing a great job of destroying this league. So I've got no problem. And I will say, I said it last night, I think Rashford, for his own good, could end up leaving the club. It was in the Mirror yesterday. Man United will listen to offers for Rashford. So I haven't got a problem with this. This is not abuse. And the funny thing is, and I don't care because I don't know who this account is, the top reply to that is, you know, so the account that says, Marcus Rashford quote tweets this account and says, I appreciate your support. The actual account says the way Marcus Rashford is being treated is absolutely disgusting. It's cruel. It's abuse. The top reply is, and it all stems from one fan. And then this same account that Marcus Rashford has quote tweeted mysteriously mentions my name and says that one fan has massively negative influence on the entire fan base and the club. I don't think many realise just how much it reaches the inside of the club and affects the players, but that fan and those around him do, it gets them attention and they thrive off negativity. You've lost your argument. You've destroyed Rashford's argument. You've lost your own argument, whoever you are, you faceless bot. You've lost your argument when you're throwing this back onto me, because your argument had some legs until you throw it onto me, because I am not abusive to Marcus Rashford. In fact, if you watch our content 2 months ago when he was out on the piss in Belfast, you lot went mad at me and said I'm on Rashford's payroll because I stuck up for him and said I would play him against Wolves. 98% of you wanted him dropped for a week. I said play him against Wolves. So this is where this idiot has completely, and this is why Rashford shouldn't quote tweet twats, because he's completely and utterly dissolved any good point he made. And then when you look at his old tweets, he's slagging off Ronaldo. So, you know, Marcus Rashford is quote tweeting somebody talking about abuse. There may be a good point there, but then you read the replies, he goes in on me. You read his history, he's gone in on Ronaldo, and he's lost his point. He's completely lost it, because I'm not abusive to Marcus Rashford. I'm not. I'm just literally not. I'm not. Like, I know I'm not. And if Rashford wants a conversation about, and we've reached out to Rashford before, loads of times over the last 2 years, we've said, look, you know what? I think there's some positive stuff we could do together to, you know, make you, because you're a Man United player, we want you to do well. Completely shunned it. So this sympathy vote doesn't really rock with a lot of people, because it's about your football performance. That's what it's about. And last week against Coventry, 3 hours before the game, I said Rashford starting. On Wednesday night, 2 hours before the team news came out, I said Rashford's not starting. 2 months ago, a month ago, I said Rashford's not for sale. I ain't plucking this information from my arse. So, you know what? 2 + 2 is 4 sometimes. I ain't going to say any more, but if I was a Rashford hater, why do I get information around when Rashford's starting and whether he's for sale and stuff like that? Because I don't have a bad relationship or dislike for Marcus Rashford. In fact, he was one of my favourite players. He can't be at the moment because he's not performing. He's not going to get sold. The criticism I give Rashford is because I want him to switch his head on and start performing because I know he'll be here next year. I am not going to start calling him names and saying, get out of my club, you useless whatever, because I know he'll be here next year. And when he starts scoring next year, if he starts scoring next year, you've got nowhere to go because you've said, get out of my fucking club, you prat. So I think that, you know, it's incredible. But let's just go back to this. There was a clip going out yesterday and people retweeted it and I just ignored it because I was like, that's too far. There was a clip going out yesterday of an old lady who has done content on the United Stand before when Flex was here years ago, not on our channel, doing a fan cam, which we've not done for years, saying bad things about Rashford, which absolutely categorically she won't know are true. And that's a dangerous game. And I think that steps towards abuse. I'm not saying it is abuse. That's for you to make your mind up. But when you are going viral on a video clip in context, not out of context, because people will take me out of context all the time. That's not the same. In context, and you're saying Marcus Rashford's faking injury, he's not even injured, the physios didn't come on, he's faking injury. You better bloody have facts about that, because that's not right. You can think it, but it's not true. And everybody who retweeted that and made it go viral yesterday, well, I actually think that is a level of abuse. Now, I'll tell you a story. Why doesn't the United Stand do fan cams anymore? Why doesn't that Full-Time Devils or whatever they're called do fan cams anymore? Probably the same reason. We were the two who were doing it. We don't do it anymore. The reason we don't do it anymore is because during COVID, I had a conversation with 2 or 3. I'm not going to name them because it's not fair because people will get angry that we've had conversations with them. Not from our side, probably from their side. But fan organisations around Manchester United that have been around for a long time and are well respected. We had a couple of conversations with them. They said, got no issue with the content you do, but outside the ground, we just feel it's AFTV style, what it was like then, and it's damaging to the football club. It's making us a mockery. And I said, I don't like it. I've never liked it. It wasn't my idea to do it. We're going to stop it after COVID. And we stopped it. So if Marcus Rashford thinks that that clip outside Old Trafford is anything to do with the United Stand or Full-Time Devils, he's wrong. You cannot throw fan content into the same bag. Because we've been doing this for a long time. And even in the last 2 years, the way we do content is completely different to the Wild West when we first started out. We've learned so many things. We've learned so many lessons. And we know that lines can't be crossed. Look, Faz hasn't been on the show for 2 weeks because of what he said about Ten Hag crossing the line with a lot of you lot talking about what he said. And he's accepted that. He's apologised that. He's fine about that. But we are very careful about what we say. And in the heat of the moment, you're going to swear. You're going to say stuff that, you know, people in the ground say. But out of the heat of the moment, you've got to be very professional about what you're doing. We don't do fan cams anymore. And the reason we don't do them is they're a very good idea. But we got fed up of recording 15 of them and not using 8 of them because those 8 people literally were wanting to be Troops or DT or someone like that. And they just had something ready to go, fuck this manager, fuck this player, get him out. And look, there is the potential for it to go viral because people like that sort of stuff, but that's not what we want to do. We don't want to do that. It doesn't help anybody. And I think that is bordering on abuse when you are saying that a player isn't injured in a big game for Man United, because you better have the facts. And that's not responsible, and you're going to get stick for that. And we've had stick in the past. We've made mistakes, and we've had to own up to it. And you can't do that and not expect it. But what pisses me off is that we get associated with that as a community, because we wouldn't have done that and we wouldn't have put it out. Maybe a few years ago when we were learning, but not now. We wouldn't do it. And this is what I'm saying. Marcus Rashford, and I'm going to talk about his tweet because I think there's a big issue here. Marcus Rashford is wrong if he thinks people criticising his performance in a Man United shirt is abuse. You can do that. And maybe the brand around him doesn't like it because it's not helping the brand, but perform better on the pitch. And we can talk about that. But some people do cross the line. There are replies on his Instagram and on his Twitter that are racist, that are abusive. There is abuse out there. Let's not pretend that there isn't. But also, you can't go around saying he's not injured. You can't do that. You've got to be more responsible in what you're putting out, in my opinion. But I have to say, I don't even think he's put this tweet out. Because if he has, I think this man might be having a word with him today. Because this tweet from Marcus Rashford's account is at 33 minutes past midnight. Manchester United are in training this morning. I know for a fact, and most of you will know this, Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world. The biggest clubs in the world have eating plans and sleeping plans. Listen to Scott McTominay about sleeping plans and eating plans, right? Man United players are, and this is the best paid player in the squad. This is elite sport. And although we have a lot of injuries, and although we've had a lot of problems, Manchester United players are told to adhere to sleeping plans and eating plans. You can't stay up watching Netflix till 2 o'clock eating Pringles. Let's put it that way. So Marcus Rashford's in training this morning unless he's recovering from this injury still, in which case even more recovery is required. I can't for the life of me imagine that Marcus Rashford's on Twitter at midnight last night when he's got training today. And if he is, I think Ten Hag's going to look at that and go, what are you doing up at midnight the night before training? You've got to get your body recovered. And people are laughing about this, but you haven't got a bloody clue how high-end football works. This is important stuff. Like the hours you get of sleep and recovery, the food you eat and when you eat. If you don't think this is going on at Man United and every other club, it is. So I don't think for 1 minute Rashford's tweeting that. And if he is, we've got a huge problem here. Because it's scary that a Man United player is on Twitter at midnight. I switch it off at 10:30. I don't pick it up again until I get up. Because the last thing I want to do is be on Twitter. I don't know whether you've all been there. The last thing I want to be doing, and I've done it in the past, is on Twitter in a debate getting revved up after 11 o'clock. I just don't want to do it. So I don't believe that is it. It's about I don't think it's him. I think it's probably these players have admins, etc. But again, I just think it's ill timed. I thought the interview he did with the Players Tribune was ill timed because he didn't respond to it. It was all this, criticize me all you like, I'm going to bounce back or whatever, and it didn't happen. But let's have a look at some of your comments anyway. Lots to get into. Mark, many people are being toxic against you on Twitter and I don't really like it. But Akshay, the argument's lost. I actually find this funny. I find it hilarious. I mean, the argument's gone. If this is aimed at me, show me the abuse against Marcus Rashford. Oh, you're always saying he's not playing well. Well, he's not playing well. I can't lie. What do you want me to do? What do you want everyone to do? Oh, let's not... We're not a charity. We're not a charity. Last night, my daughter, who is 14, plays for an academy. Last night, out of 20 players, 10 of them got cut. And they got called in and told, you're no longer part of this academy, or you are part of this academy. Crying, they were. 14 years of age. I ain't got a problem with it. Because that particular club and every other academy wants the best. It's a competitive sport. And it's really sad for those people that don't get in. And it's a dream gone. And hopefully they can go and have trials elsewhere. But it's about taking the best players or what they think are the best players through to the next stage. And this happens from 9 years of age. 9 years of age. You could be training with Man United. You're not good enough. You're gone. harsh lessons all the way through football. And yet the first team, we're not allowed to criticise players. It's incredible. You're not allowed to say that a player's not good enough to play for this football club because they might get hurt by it. Well, who parachuted them in as a grown man in a Man United shirt? All through your life, you'll have seen the barriers and the goodbyes and the rejections. What about the player? What about the player that breaks their leg who's going to be the next big thing and never makes it? Like, football is full of hard knocks. There are standards. I am not apologising, and nobody should apologise for criticising any United player that doesn't play well in a shirt. When they play well, they should be praised 100%. What world are we living in when the United stand is the driver of abuse against Marcus Rashford? And on the other hand, you are fair towards other players and you're on the payroll. I mean, what about the abuse that Paul Pogba had? What about the abuse that Ronaldo had? What about the abuse that Anthony got for celebrating a fucking goal? This is what I mean. This is not the way to have this conversation, because within seconds it will fall into hypocrisy around what abuse actually is and how other players get it anyway. This is not abuse. This is not an argument about abuse. This is about a brand that's failing that needs positivity around it. And I guarantee you, we will see an opportunity from certain journalists who are dying because no one's listening to them anymore. They're not credible. They'll jump on this and they'll go, this is a way to get into fan content. This is a way to mock fan content. This is a way to have a go at them. Some of those journalists aren't getting questions with Ten Hag anymore because they're unprofessional. So if you want a proper conversation, let's do it. I mean, I'd sit down and have it with Rashford. No problem at all. I'd say I think it's unacceptable, Marcus, when people call you Trashford or when people are abusive towards you with genuine abuse. And I think it's really unfair when people are putting content out there saying that you're feigning injury. It's offensive to a professional footballer of any level to say that you're faking an injury. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Of course it is. And that should be apologised for. But let's be fair, you've not been very good this season. Your attitude doesn't look very good on the pitch. I don't know why that is. Are you injured? That's fair criticism, isn't it, Marcus? And if he said no, then you're going to have a conversation about it, aren't you? Mark, can't be successful in life if you can't accept criticism, says Ashen. You definitely can't. Tom says, can't completely agree, but what doesn't make sense is his performances. He needs to turn this debacle into performances on the pitch. Well, I've got a very interesting theory on why he can't turn it around, which is based on football. Let me not forget that. You said the exact same thing after Belfast. He needs to go. You don't need to protect him anymore, says Bradley. If I earn 350k a week, you can give me all the abuse you want. If he's not happy, he can walk away like everyone else, says Dave. 300 grand a week and he can't take criticism. Get him out of the club, says Daniel. Rory says, if you back me, good. If you doubt me, even better. That was Rashford's words, of course, a few weeks ago. Nothing has changed since those quotes a few months ago. Fair criticism is fine and warranted. John says, a professional athlete up past midnight worrying about the opinions of a random bot is hilarious. He needs to take accountability for his form. Mate, it's absolutely incredible that tweet is at midnight, the night before training, interacting with a faceless account that nobody knows who it is. I mean, it's just scary. The professionalism at this football club, it's scary. Whilst he might be making a good point, do it through Henry Winter in his paper at 10 o'clock in the morning, not through quote tweeting an account that completely ridicules itself on its first reply. Enough is enough. Rashford out, says Flash Talks. What's been abuse is watching him play this year, says Noah. Do you think United players are afraid of United stand, says Aqua? No. Look, between you and me, bit of an exclusive. I've been up since 7 o'clock this morning. Breaking news. But I've spoken to a few people this morning quite close to this, and the abuse that Rashford's talking about has got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with this channel. It's got nothing to do with the media. Because let's not forget, Roy Keane's called him out. Alan Shearer's called him out. Talk Sport's called him out. Rashford's been called out for weeks. This is nothing to do with us. It's got nothing to do with them. The abuse they're talking about is the clips on Twitter and stuff where people are, saying he's injured, where people are putting titles like "fuck off Rashford," where, that commentary thing that they do. I don't watch it. There's some sort of commentary thing with voices over the top of it. That sort of stuff. I think that's starting to get under the skin, if I'm being honest. That's the feedback anyway. Unless he comes back from the abuse and plays with well like Maguire did, I suggest we sell him. But he can, yeah, Brit, he can come back. I mean, Harry Maguire is the prime example of that. I've never understood the Rashford hype. He suits a counter-attacking mid-table team, says Parker. Take his pace away, he's got nothing. So when does the Anthony spin, we call it a bad day, says Alexandra. I agree, Mark, but I can understand the narrative that some fans are overcritical and toxic, and then it becomes abuse. Oh, mate, 100% there's abuse out there. I mean, look, when we did the Rasmus interview and the bloody, that fanzine wrote a load of lies about how that interview came about, for 24 hours, we were getting death threats and everything. So there's horrible people out there. You can't say that these players don't get abuse. They do get abuse. But what we can't do is smear the line between people being scared to say that Rashford plays badly in his bad game because they think they're abusing him. You're not. You're not abusing him if you give him 4 out of 10. You're not abusing him if you say he's had a bad game. You're not abusing him if you say you want to sell him or drop him. That's not abuse. That we should fight for that. Everybody should be standing up against that, including Marcus Rashford himself. We can't, sweep free speech under the carpet. Free and fair speech can never be swept under the carpet. Abuse should be called out and it should be dealt with, but that's not been dealt with for years. We know that exists. So when Anthony, I've done that one. I remember there was a period where he was running around like a headless chicken and we would say we love the effort. Now there's no effort and it's just a chicken, says Ronaldinho. Rana, welcome to the members club. Maguire was harassed and made a meme for 2 years in a row. He didn't cry, didn't blame and didn't give up. Look at him now. Marcus is weak, says Treble. And I don't think you should have to defend yourself. I don't mind because I just find it hilarious that some idiots think this is about this. And the pile-on will continue, but read their fucking timeline. They'll be abusing Anthony or Ronaldo. They're idiots. They're absolute idiots. And it's not actually what the point is here. The point is that it's incredible that a current Man United player is interacting with a bot at midnight the night before training. It's incredible that that's the advice he gets. I mean, they're worried about the brand of Rashford, and the people around him are destroying the brand of Rashford. The interview with the Players' Tribune was terrible. Not apologising to the fans after Belfast was terrible. Quote tweeting stuff on Twitter at midnight is terrible. This is terrible advice. This reminds me, if you listen to Goldbridge Saves Football, we were talking about VAR last week and how all the ex-players agreed with protecting the PGMOL. And I was saying on the podcast with Will, they've just not read the room. There's almost like people, I was on a panel in front of about 300 brands and sports media people on Wednesday, and I was saying exactly this. You're losing whatever you're trying to achieve. You are not in touch with social media and the way football's going. Yes, it's a bit of a wild west, but there's a lot of really passionate opinion about the game that people love. And people are just not reading the room. All these ex-players that backed the PGMOL last week have lost a load of respect because they're not respecting fans. And the people around Rashford and some other players are just not reading the room. There's so many things they could do to get this fan base back on side, and they're not doing any of them. They're not doing any of them. I don't want to go back to the Belfast thing because for me, I thought the club dealt with it really, really well. But I've always said Rashford should have done a public statement, like apologising to the fans. 100%. You were out drinking the night before training into the early hours in a different country, and you missed training. You should have apologised to the fans. It would have gone a long way to show that humility, and he didn't do it. Because why? Because people around him are advising him badly, and this is bad advice. This is bad advice. Because as a professional, you've got to be better than everybody else. As a professional, you've got to give an aura of control. This is erratic behaviour. Midnight with a bot. It's erratic behaviour. And, it's not going to help him. But, as I've always said, I actually thought Coventry, Sheffield United, Burnley were great opportunities for him to score goals. Obviously, it was injured against Sheffield United and he didn't play well against Coventry, and we don't know whether he'll play tomorrow. But I think the problem that Rashford's got at the moment is that there's definitely a struggle. There's definitely something going on. But standards have to be kept high, and we're not a charity. And as much as I would have sympathy with any story that comes out around a major back issue that stops him running, or you know, something going on in his home life, everybody's going to have an empathy and sympathy to that. But you shouldn't be starting for Man United because we can't be a charity. Like, there's levels here. There's abuse and then there's fair critique. And I think people want to muddy the lines, but you can 100% sit and say he shouldn't be playing for United. Let's sell him, or drop him, or he needs time on the sidelines. Whatever, that's fine. The abuse is not fine. But I think he's got a big problem at the moment, because let's talk about this article in the Mirror where, you know, the Mirror have always been pretty close to Ten Hag and Man United's regime, let's be honest. And one of their better journalists said yesterday that Man United will listen to offers for Rashford in the summer. There's a big problem here. There's two big problems here. The first one is Marcus Rashford will want to go to the Euros. He will want to play in the Euros. He's got a massive problem, because to play in the Euros, he's got to start scoring goals. And to start scoring goals, he's got to score goals. And to score goals, he's got to skip past a couple of players or shoot from the edge of the box, which is the thing that's infuriating this season. So when you watch him against Coventry and he's running into 3 or 4 players, I sort of think this is going to carry on until the end of the year. He's got to get himself in the Euros squad. So to get himself in the Euros squad, he's got to get the headlines. And to get the headlines, he's got to score the goals. And this is one of the... It's almost like a vicious cycle, because Rashford needs to get his head up and start passing and crossing. But is that going to get him in the Euros? To get in the Euros, he's got to be headlines. And to be headlines, he's got to score. And to score, his way of scoring is 30-yard screamers or skip past 2 players and score. So you can almost see the desperation in the Coventry game of running down the blind alleys, trying to, you know, go past 3 or 4 players. And it becomes a vicious cycle. I almost think if I could speak to Rashford and he'd listen, I'd say, forget the Euros. This is what you're going to do. Forget the Euros. You're trying to solve your problem in the next few days, and it's going to take months. Like, forget this season. It's gone. It's going to go down on your CV as a terrible season. Stop trying to rescue the Euros by taking too many people on and being selfish. You go to the Euros, you get no break. You go to the Euros, you're not going to start. What's best for you, Marcus, is there's a World Cup in 2 years. Also, you're at rock bottom with this United journey. What you need to do is focus on being a team player. Get the team and the fans back on side by being a team player. What you also need to do is, at the end of May, is fuck off on holiday for a month and come back rejuvenated. You don't need the Euros. You're chasing something that's actually going to damage you in the short term and in the long term. You need a break in the summer. You need to get away from the UK, Dubai, America, wherever, and go back and fall in love with football and get back focused. And maybe you want to put a transfer request in as well. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But forget this Euros thing, because you can see it on the pitch. You're trying to score a goal. You're trying to be the headline so you can go to the Euros. It's not going to help you. You need a break. You need to step away from football, and May is going to be perfect for you. Watch the Euros on the TV. Get yourself down the gym. Get yourself some mental well-being, because you'll come back sharper, fitter than you've been in a year. Like, it's so obvious. But has he got the people around him doing that? And also, Marcus, maybe this... I mean, I see United fans going, he's one of our own. I think it's the biggest fucking myth in the world. What's that got to do with anything? So, because he's come through the youth setup and he's from Manchester, it's a free pass for the rest of his career. Like, David Beckham came through the youth setup and he's from London. Cristiano Ronaldo came from Portugal. Ronaldo came from Liverpool. Rooney came from Liverpool. What's this one of our own got to do with it? Doesn't help him, doesn't help us. He needs some really, really honest conversation around him. And what people forget is that I've always been a big fan of Rashford. I'm not anymore because he's just not good enough. But I can be again. He needs good people around him with no bullshit. People who aren't making money off him. People who aren't looking for brands off him. People who aren't just trying to, you know, tell him the things that he wants to hear. He needs honesty around him. The Euros is not a race to chase. It's not. He needs a whole summer off. He needs to get back in that United team and just do the basics. I'd be saying to him, you know, when you get the ball, look for Bruno. Look for the pass, make the move. Simplify your game. Stop shooting from 30 yards. Stop trying to go past 3 or 4 players. Simplify your game and watch how the fans react to it. Watch what happens if you get to the byline and put a cross in. Watch what happens if you get the ball, pass it to Bruno and sprint into space. Get it back, do it again. This is simple stuff. Watch what happens and watch how the fan base starts coming back on your side. He needs people who know football. He needs people who know the modern football fan world. He hasn't got that. It's so fucking clear that the people around him haven't got a clue. And look, he can ring Gary Neville up. He can ring Michael Carrick up. I don't think they have. I think he needs people who know this world to have a proper chat with him about what's best for him. Because I don't think Marcus Rashford's getting sold in the summer. You know, this Mirror article that Man United are looking at offers for him in the summer. I think if someone rings up and says, we'll give you £100 million and Rashford says he wants to go, United will go, thank you very much. That's not there. I don't think Rashford wants to go. I'm not sure Man United want him to go. But I'm guaranteeing you no one wants to buy him. Nobody wants to buy Marcus Rashford. There is no offer on the table. There is no interest on the table. Listen to the likes of Fabrizio. There is no interest in Marcus Rashford. PSG wanted him 2 years ago. They don't want him now. He is not a player that people are looking to give us 80 million quid for and pay him 350 grand a week. He's not going anywhere and he's on a massive contract. This is a problem that needs to be solved and he will be here next year. So it's about how we get him back. And my biggest concern about Rashford is not the fact that he might score goals again. My biggest concern with Rashford is I don't think his style of football suits us, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. If I could take Rashford away for a month in June, I'd spend most of the time watching videos with him of players that play on the wing in the way that we want. And I'd spend the rest of the time working on fitness and drills with the ball. Situations. Watching how you want him to play and then putting it into practice for a whole month. Get him, and I'd say don't ever shoot from 40 yards. I know you can do that. Don't do it. We're going to make you a completely different winger in relation to simplifying your game. And when you're in certain positions, I only want you to shoot when you're in the box in a position to shoot. I don't want you to shoot when you've got 35 yards away and 3 players in front of you. I don't want you to run at 4 players. I want you to probe and pass. And look, it might not work, but it amazes me. But the player's got to be willing to do that as well. I don't know Marcus Rashford. I don't know what he's like as a personality. I like to believe he's got the wrong people around him and he's a player that can do it. He might be the biggest big head in the world who doesn't want to do it. I don't know. And I tell you what, like the person who said he's faking an injury, I'm not going to sit here and say he's the biggest big head in the world and he doesn't want to pass because I don't know those things. It's not, you know, I don't deal in that. But he's not going anywhere. I told you this 6 weeks ago. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be here next season and there needs to be a lot of change. Let's be honest though, Garnacho, Anthony, Ahmad can never or will never touch a candle to Rashford's best seasons or his ability, says HW. Well, I mean, that's a completely different conversation, but Garnacho's 19. I think he's better than Rashford. I think he's technically better than Rashford. I think he gets his head up, he passes, he can dribble better. I think he crosses the ball. I think Garnacho is better. I don't think that... I think you're right about Anthony and Ahmad. You know, Rashford's best seasons are very good, but I think Garnacho's ceiling is Real Madrid. The way HW makes a good point. I'm not falling out with him at all. But I think when you talk about ceilings, some people start thinking about the thing above your head. Who's going to play for Real Madrid? Garnacho, Rashford, Anthony, Ahmad. That's the best way. If you're looking to talk about who's the best player of anything, who's going to play for Real Madrid? Because Real Madrid want the best. They want the Bellinghams. They want the Rodrigos. They want the Vinicius Juniors. They want the Mbappes. Garnacho's the one I think that goes to there. Garnacho doesn't cross the ball, said someone in the chat, and yet literally crossed the ball and we scored from Maguire. You never know. Your predictions last year were off, says Patrice Evra. Do you want to give details? Ignore the haters, Mark. I love this channel and what it stands for. Criticism isn't hate. In the world of football media, you're the Piers Morgan and the United Stand is the GB News. No, we're bloody not. No, I'm not. And no, we're not rice and peas. In the world of social media, they hate what we do, so they pretend we're that, but we're not. We're not abusive. I don't care what people say about it, but we're not the people abusing Marcus Rashford or any other player. We're not. the people who push that are jealous because they want what we've got. The hipsters, the mainstream, the people on Twitter. You look at their Twitter accounts, the ones with a face, most of them will be doing their own podcasts or appearing on other channels. Like, they're talking out their arse. They don't watch the content. We've just had a grown-up conversation for 40 minutes where we've called out what is abuse and backed what is criticism. It's very simple. Some people aren't intelligent, though. Some people just don't understand. And we are more and more descending into a snowflake society, which is trying to stop people saying what is right. Like, I fear if we tolerate this, then our children will be next, as the Manic Street Preachers quite rightly sang. And what I mean by that is, I've been talking about this for 5 or 6 years. There is a push in society to stop criticism. We see it creeping in more and more areas of our daily life. You can't say that, you can't say that, you can't do that, you can't do that, that's not right. Seb comes home from school and he can't do this, he can't do that. And I'll say to him, you bloody well can. You can do that. And I you know, obviously there's a lot of things you can't do that you shouldn't do, but some of the stupid stuff you can't do now, it's ridiculous. And it just gets worse. It's like school sports day where everybody gets first prize. No, you don't get first prize for falling over and being unfit and unable to finish the race. You don't get first prize because guess what? When you're 18 and you go for a job and you're shit, you won't get the job, the best candidate will. Or even worse, the candidate that knows the boss's dad or mum. Like, it's called reality. Maybe I'm a boomer, but I grew up in a society where things weren't fair. You know, homophobia, racism, sexism were rife. But on top of that, if you finish first, you got a sticker. If you finish second, you got fuck all. If you went for a job and you were the best candidate, you needed to hope that somebody's daughter or son wasn't working at the place because you wouldn't get it. I remember going for an interview, spent weeks, really wanted the job. Spent weeks researching it. I could recite a book of everything about it. Did the best interview I've ever done. Was convinced I was going to get it. Got a phone call, didn't get it. The person who got the job was like, used to go out drinking with the boss. It's the school of hard knocks. It's not fair, but you know what? People need to learn these lessons. It's the real world. It goes on. We're never going to create, we can't and cannot create a society where everybody's a fucking robot and you can't critique things. If I go out to the pub tonight and somebody stands up on the karaoke and they're shit, I'm not applauding it. I'll boo it. I'll laugh at it. If I go out tomorrow night to listen to a comedian and he's not funny, I want my money back. It's called entertainment. And this is why I'll start with I'll come to what I said at the start. I actually think this fan base is too patient at times. I look at some clubs on the continent, when they're not happy with owners, they don't turn up. They empty the stadium. You know, the ultras abroad actually mean something. It's not people who listen to the Goldbridge Saves Football podcast. It's actual results. Things happen. We, as a fan base, rightly or wrongly, have been putting up with the Glazers for 20 years, and they're still here. All right, we've got Sir Jim now, hope it's going to work. But even if you go back to Christmas, when the Glazers owned all of the football club, we've been putting up with their shit for 13 years since Sir Alex Ferguson left. What have we done? Nothing. They're still here. They've never been under any real pressure. They've only looked for investment because they've bled the club dry and they need it. They've never been under any pressure to go. I think we're a very patient fan base, actually. I think we're probably one of the most patient fan bases in the world in relation to the size of the football club. We don't get things done. We don't. We tolerate a lot. So people who think that we've got a toxic, abusive fan base, fuck off. We have not. We have not compared to other clubs. We haven't. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Liverpool's fan base would have got a lot more done over the last 10 years than we have. I genuinely do. I mean, was it not a few years ago when Liverpool fans, was it Hodgson or something, where they walked out the ground after certain... I don't follow Liverpool, so it's hard to say this, but when Liverpool Liverpool put the tweet out about the onside goal and VAR. What do Man United do? We've got to respect the referees. We played extra time at the weekend because the referees gave a handball against Wan-Bissaka, which hit him from a metre away. And Man City are in the final because the same referees didn't give a penalty that hit Grealish on an outstretched arm from 20 metres. What do Man United do? Nothing. Tumbleweed. What does our manager do? You've got to respect the referees. Liverpool wouldn't do that. Even Arsenal don't put up with it. We're a very patient football club. And we're a very patient fan base. People probably don't want to have that conversation. So when you get people coming out and journalists coming out talking about United's fan base being toxic, etc. Look, toxicity exists everywhere, but as an actual fan base, we don't actually get a lot done. So I don't get it. 2 seasons of massive caveats, record penalties before Bruno and COVID, only purple patch under Ten Hag, says Connor. Please don't criticise my millionaires, Mark, says Sid. The victimhood mentality is a massive turn-off. He's one of the most privileged 26-year-olds in the world. He doesn't love football, Mark, says Marika. You never know, says Patrice Evra. Thank you very much from you. Ryan C says, Rashford's not consistent. He has only had a few good seasons, and I don't want him to see him next season. He has down tools on a number of managers, says Ryan G. When Van Persie came in, Fergie told the wingers, if you can't find him, you don't play. Why hasn't this mentality continued post Sir Alex? Rasmus needs service, says Ethan. He's the best paid player. We should set standards, says Wesley. 12:30. Well, at least he was in the country this time, says Sean from Ireland. Can you call my brother Mikey McVeigh a prat, says Jay Reynolds. Patrick Lynch says this is a microism that shows that the task that will be with any manager we have, toxic dressing room, immature and blame shifting from players rather than taking criticism and trying to improve. Look, on a very basic level, I've left that up all stream because it's important and it's opened up a lot of things. But you know what? Another thing, and I'd be looking at this if I was Sir Jim Radcliffe, and it would be a major thing for me, and it's separate to what we've spoken about. If I'm Sir David Brailsford, if I'm Sir Jim Radcliffe, I'm waking up, I'm seeing this, and I'm going, is this happening with Kevin De Bruyne? Is this happening with Saka? Is this happening with Mo Salah? Is it happening with Anthony Gordon? No. Why is a Man United player tweeting at midnight with some bot on Twitter? And that's a separate point. I think this raises conversations, certainly. But as a separate thing, why is this always happening? Why is it always happening? And it shouldn't be happening. Mo says, same as Ten Hag calling out Garnacho's performances, need to humble all these younger players, prevent these divas. Mentality should have been moulded, says Mo. Just don't go on social media, Rashford, says Amber. Marcus, go see Professionalism, overlap, Anthony Gordon, you're privileged. You need to do your talking on the pitch, not social media, says Anthony Murray. Anthony gets so much abuse, but I don't see him tweeting about it, says Jacob. I feel like no one ever asks Mark how he's doing. How are you, mate, says Mike. Mike, I don't need people to ask how I'm doing. I appreciate that, Mike. Welcome to Members Club, Kian. I don't need it because I've learned to deal with social media and I know what it's like, and I've learned to focus on the good things and also the fair criticism. I think that's absolutely fine. I don't go searching my name. I don't go searching what people are saying. Somebody could be threatening to kill me right now. I'm sure there are. I feel sorry for them because they're idiots. They've got no concept of what abuse is, and they've got no concept that we're nothing to do with this. The only thing I've seen in the last 24 hours that I think has sparked this was that clip that was going out there about Rashford faking injury, because it is disgusting. That as somebody that operates in this space, that would never have gone out on the United stand. It's disgusting. It's disgusting to put that out there and then watch it go viral and be happy about views. It's not right to have somebody saying Rashford is faking injury and walking off. Whether you like Rashford or not, it's not right. Unless you've got the facts that he did, and in which case Rashford's fucked, but he isn't, it's not right. Opinion without recourse, you're never going to get that. If you put an opinion out there, you better be prepared for people to hate you, love you, agree with you, or disagree with you. So if you're going to throw a stupid comment out there, don't cry when you get a load of shit back. I learned that a long time ago, and I can deal with that. But we don't do fan cams. So if Rashford thinks that clip is the United stand, I'm furious. It's got nothing to do with us. We haven't done fan cams for years. We don't do them for that reason. You get a lot of shit from people who just want to go viral. We don't do them anymore. And I'm in complete agreement with people that don't want them around Old Trafford. I don't like them. We don't do them. The only content we do outside Old Trafford is because our studio's there. We'll pop out on a sunny day and do a bit of a, this is Old Trafford. It's a dying breed. It should stop. It doesn't work for this football club because of things like that. But some people like it. Nobody received me more abuse than Maguire. He kept quiet and worked hard, says Parker. They trolled him for years. Florian says, don't get me wrong here, but look at German clubs. Doesn't matter if it's first, second or third. The fans are way more active and get things done. Look, Sir Jim Ratcliffe needs to bring standards to this football club. Simple as that. Players that aren't... Look at what I was talking about with my daughter last night. Half the team got cut. Half the team goes through to the next stage. It's brutal. Why are we not having this chat at Man United? Why are we dancing around this snowflake society of, oh, you can't say he's not good enough and he needs to be sold? I got clipped up 2 years ago for saying, I think Rashford needs to leave. Wow. Football fans says a player's not good enough and needs to be sold. I got abused for that. Why? I watch football. I don't think this player should be at Man United because I think we can get better. Oh my God. Cancel him. Shut him down. Abuse. That's not abuse. That's not abuse. And that does happen a lot on here. We do that a lot. We definitely do that a lot. Look, someone did a super chat the other day saying, get that bold fraud out of our club. I won't read that. It's disgusting. What's that got to do with anything? That is mild abuse. I'm sure Ten Hag doesn't give a shit about it. But we will have a conversation about whether Ten Hag should get sacked. We will have a conversation about why Rashford's played badly all season. I don't think Bruno's played well this season. I thought he was fantastic on Wednesday. I hope he can carry it on. These conversations have been going on. And look, anybody who went to Old Trafford in the early 90s or the late 80s, my God. And you think Twitter's bad. Don't get me wrong here. Florian, we've done that. Chris says, stay strong. Typical mainstream trying to undermine you and protect the player who got his big contract. Mate, I don't need... Chris, thank you very much. I don't even understand why we're mentioned. Look, if we're being mentioned, I don't get it. It's got nothing to do with us. We're not involved in this. And if we're being mentioned, the whole conversation is lost. This is not about this. Not at all. All we've spoken about, like every other fan, is Rashford's not played well this season. Some people think he should be dropped. Some people think he should be sold. Some people think he's not working hard. Legit. What's the problem with that? They've said it on TalkSport. They've said it on mainstream. They've said it on the terraces. They've said it in newspapers. That's all we've been talking about. This Trashford and he's faking injury and fuck off Rashford and all this sort of stuff. That's not us. Like, that is not us. That's got nothing to do with us. So we're not to do with that. So I don't know what that is. That's just idiots on Twitter again, seeing this as an opportunity to try and come for us. We, community. It's got nothing. This has got nothing to do with us. If this was to do with us, I'd have spoke about, are we going to buy Frimpong? It's nothing to do with us. So I don't want it to be about us because it's not. The bigger message is clearly what we've been talking about. What important theory were you going to mention, Tom? The one about the Euros. I think Rashford's stuck in this obsession to go to the Euros. So when he does play, he's still going to take on players and try and score goals because he knows if he gets the headlines, he can go to the Euros. But I don't think that's helping him because every opposition player knows when Rashford gets the ball, he's going to do one of two things. He's going to try and take you on, or he's going to cut in and shoot on his right foot. If I play against Marcus Rashford, he's going to skin me. But I know what he's going to do. Now, if a half-decent footballer plays against Marcus Rashford, he ain't going to skin him. And they're going to know exactly what he's going to do. He's caught in this cycle of trying to chase the headlines to prove himself right or whatever like that. He needs to simplify his game. He needs the right people around him, as I said. Anyway, what a show this morning. Absolutely loved it. We've got a press conference reaction coming out for you. I think we're live at 2 o'clock because I think it's a slightly later press conference today than normal. It has been a bit early lately. Look, I expect the club and I expect Erik Ten Hag to come out and back the player. That might irritate people. I agree with it. I agreed with him playing against Wolves. The club has to protect a duty of care to their player. Of course they do. What they're doing privately will be kept privately, but publicly they've got to back him. Of course, I've got no problem with that at all. We've also got the return of the 8 o'clock show tonight. I'm looking forward to that. So if we're talking about this or anything else tonight at 8 o'clock, you know it'll be a little bit different. I'm really liking my hair today. Even I'm liking it. It's got perfect volume and yeah, I'm loving that. I might go and mess it up and go and play a bit of garden football, actually. Fantastic show. This is what it's all about. This is what the world is all about now. You know, when I stop, which, you know, might not be much longer, but when I do stop, it will continue. The only thing that we need to make sure of about this world that we've created, and I'm talking about football, Twitter, the lot, the only thing we need to be really careful about is that we're winning. You know, whether it's calling out VAR and the ex-players not reading the room, whether it's having a conversation that you can critique people, we're definitely winning. The numbers are huge. We're definitely winning. And when I stop, it's still going to continue in other areas. This is the way forward. But what we do need to do is that life is not green and red. There is something in between. Now, that's obviously created a lot of debate, but there is abuse out there. And I think what we can learn is that if we want this, we also have to be fair with it as well. Fair criticism. We don't need to wander into fuck you, this player, or bold fraud that, or they're faking injury. That demeans what we're building. We are building a community of people who want real conversation. But we should call out abuse. And we've made mistakes in the past. You know, as I said, with Faz, he knows he made a mistake. He's not been on the show for 2 weeks because of what he said about Ten Hag and how it was perceived. It was perceived as abuse. And we want to cut that out. And if I do it or have done it in the past, I'll apologise for it. But that's where we can go wrong. The Trashford stuff in the chat, you read it. I ain't going to read it out. But there is abuse and there is racism and there is homophobia and there is sexism. And all those things is abuse, even if you think the player's not good enough. And I think there are lessons there. But criticism of players, when we want to set standards, some of these players do need to be sold. Some of these players do need to be dropped. And some of these players do need some hard truths. Great show, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Take care. We'll see you for the press conference. And Goldbridge Saves Football is out to listen to now. New episode. So much involved in that. Just get yourself onto Spotify. And I think it's going to be out as a full video on That's Football very soon as well. I'll put it up on the community page when it is. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you in a bit. And thanks for all your support. And look, if they're calling us out on social media, more fool them. What the fuck has this got to do with us? Absolutely nothing. Speak to you in a bit.